Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere and earn money, all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since we discovered Spotify for Podcasters, we have had so much fun trying out all of the features like Q&As and polls that let us be really creative and engage with our audience. I highly recommend you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started.
Today on Podcast Royal, it's all things coronation, our thoughts, our observations, and our breakdown of the historic occasion. It is the first coronation in 70 years and hopefully the last for at least 20. So let's chat all about it right here.
Welcome back to Podcast Royal. Hey, Rachel, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. It's been a busy week, but we promised everybody we would be back. I know we just had an episode drop last week, and we're back again, excited to talk about the coronation.
Yes, and we will get our sea footing. What is that? Our sea legs. Our sea legs. I tried to say footing and sea legs at the same time. Our sea footing. We'll get our footing and our sea legs back eventually. Jessica and I are just going through a season in both of our lives, tumultuous change. We're good. We're going to move through this, but we're just trying to get our balance. So forgive us for the random Friday episode, and we'll get back on track. But this has been a week so far. Since our last episode dropped on Friday, of Kate beekeeping, attending the Chelsea Flower Show, William rowing for mental health awareness, and honestly looking pretty hot while doing so. I do say so myself. And Harry losing his legal bid for UK police protection. We'll get back to regular news in our next episode, but we're going back in time 2.5 weeks time on today's episode to chat exclusively about the coronation, which of course was the first in 70 years since June of 1953. So as promised, King Charles delivered a ceremony that was shorter. It was about half the length of Queen Elizabeth's 3-hour ceremony. It was smaller, 2,300 guests as opposed to 8,000 in 1953. That's staggeringly high number. And sooner, this was executed in just 8 months as opposed to 16 months for Queen Elizabeth's. And we've got a lot to get into, but I do want to share, I kind of teased this on the last episode, this kind listener review from Jelena. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. She writes, that our show is interesting, filled with updates on happenings, hosted by two kind women. Sorry about the passing of Edison too. So thank you for that, Jelena. I really was struck by the kind women comment. Being called kind is just, I mean, that's what we strive for.
Yes, I really appreciate that too. And for the thoughts about Edison, that means a lot to me. Rachel, I also wanted to share a really kind DM we got on Instagram last week. One of our listeners, Chrissy, messaged and said, "This is my favorite podcast. I just found you like 2 weeks ago, and I think I have listened to every episode."
Oh my God, that sounds like total torture. I'm so sorry. Oh God.
All the way back. She also says, "I love how unbiased and fact-driven you both are. It's refreshing and hard to find in the Royal podcast. Thank you." So thank you, Chrissy. I know I chatted with you for a few seconds on Instagram, but that was also a really nice message and we appreciate it.
Chrissy, that's amazing. And you deserve some kind of commendation or medal for listening to 90 plus episodes of us in 2 weeks. That's impressive. But it has, so before we get into it, let's cue it up. We don't really, I mean, we come in, we like to think well researched and, very prepared. This episode is not going to really be that. It's been, first of all, it's been a couple of weeks since the coronation. We're recording this on May 23rd. A lot of water, I know in my life, and I know in your life too, a lot of water has gone under the bridge since May 6th and the coronation. We're also going off the cuff here. We decided to not break down every minute of the coronation ceremony and everything surrounding, because likely you all watched it. I mean, we don't have to rehash this for you. You very much likely watched all of this. So we're not doing that. We're just sharing our thoughts and opinions. We're going to go off the cuff. So forgive our informality. Normally we're a lot more buttoned up than this, but we're just going to chat about the coronation for a little bit. So let's get into it, shall we? Starting with Friday, May 5th.
Yes. So Friday, we saw a surprise walkabout at the Mall, and we saw King Charles, William, Catherine was also there, but we didn't see Camilla at this one. And I know you noticed that too, Rachel, because we chatted about it.
Yeah, we did chat about it at the time. And there were actually, this is not funny, but there were actually rumors that circulating at the time that she was kind of freaking out, Camilla, about, I don't know if she was having some anxiety or a panic attack. Of these rumors were proven to not be the case. You'll talk about this in a second. She was just not there. She never was supposed to be there. But, we didn't see much of her in the days leading up to the actual day. And so, tabloids, as they do, said that she's panicking. Oh my gosh, she never expected to be queen, which is true. She never did. But those rumors were proven to be false.
So as I said, they were out greeting the public. We saw Catherine in this white Jenny Packham dress that had the black detailing with the little sort of like a ribbon belt and around the neckline. And she had the black Aquazzura bow tie pumps on. I loved this outfit. I thought it looked fabulous.
Yeah, I loved all of her outfits in the lead up to the coronation, and we'll of course talk about her outfit at the coronation itself. But many people made a note that Meghan also prefers Aquazzura shoes. I say let women wear the same shoe. It really is okay. I don't think there's like a hidden message there that Kate's trying to send with the shoe about Meghan, some kind of a diss or something. I just think they're cute shoes. So I mean, a lot of people made a big fuss about Kate's wearing Meghan's preferred shoe brand. I don't think there's any there. Do you have any thoughts on this?
I totally agree. I saw the rumors also, and I don't think they were sending any messages with that. I think it's
a cute
really
shoe.
Cute shoe.
Cute shoe. Yeah, I would wear the shoe. I don't care who else likes the shoe. It's a cute shoe. So then on Friday, they had a lunch reception at Buckingham Palace. Again, no Camilla. Camilla really wasn't at all seen, I don't think, on Friday. Obviously, she was there on Saturday, but there was a royal warrant issued by the king that confirmed Camilla is now officially Queen Camilla. So that's a royal warrant. So, and everything I've been writing since then, she has been Queen Camilla, and I think everyone has kind of fallen into line. And the more you do it, the easier it gets, I've found. And by the way, Camilla's grandson Gus Lopez, who is a page of honor at the coronation, he apparently broke his arm, but he continued on as page of honor. So thankfully he wasn't too hurt and everything seemed okay.
Well, Friday evening, we also had a reception at Buckingham Palace. We saw Catherine in this royal blue self-portrait dress and blue Aquazzura slingback pumps. What did you think about this dress, Rachel? I'm kind of curious.
I loved all of her outfits in the lead up to the coronation. I really think that, I've really loved her. I mean, this, listeners, we've talked about this. We went through a polka dot moment that I was not a fan of. We went through some shoulder pads, some like 1980s throwback weirdness that I was not into, but I am loving everything she's coming out with this past month. I would say I can't think of anything that recently that I've been like, oh my gosh, that was a miss. But did you notice that she wore red, white, and blue, of course, presumably for the Union Jack throughout the week? I noticed that.
I did. I loved that red coat she had on earlier in the week. Like I said, I loved the black and white dress. The blue one, the style is not really my favorite, to be honest.
I love the color though.
Yeah, I mean, again, we keep seeing her and others in the blue color. But I would have to say, if I had to pick, I'd go with the black and white dress.
That's a great look. Yeah, I just think she's been killing it lately. I've been a big fan.
So we didn't see Camilla at the evening reception, and I had actually seen some reports that she didn't really plan to be at these pre-Saturday events because she wanted to rest up for the big event. I
Yeah.
don't really know what the truth was there, but I kind of want to know your thoughts. Do you think she should have been there? Do you think it was okay that she didn't show up?
Yeah, I mean, if you need to rest, rest. But I mean, this is the lead up to the biggest day of your husband's life. And it's also a huge day in your life, too. I mean, we have to remember that Camilla's 75 years old, and there's nothing, that doesn't preclude you or exclude you from doing everything you want to do. But if you need some rest, get some rest. I mean, shoot, I might need some rest and I'm 36. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine, honestly, going from being Camilla Parker Bowles in, let's say, arbitrary year like 1993 to, the pressure that had to be on her for this coronation. And there were critics, there are critics, there will always be critics, my gosh. And maybe she just needed a break, and that's okay. And thankfully we've got William and Kate who step up and are there with the king. And she came out in full form and fashion over the weekend. Obviously, Saturday, she was at the coronation concert on Sunday. And so, take care of yourself. I mean, if that's what she needed to do, I'm glad she did it.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get where you're coming from there. I do feel like, though, this is a really, like, if you're ever going to show up, this is a really
Right.
important
Right.
weekend.
I
And
agree.
people traveled from around the world to be there. And so for me, I'm thinking, and I feel this way about weddings too. Like when you get married, it's the bride and groom's big day, but it's not just about the bride and groom. It's about all the family and friends that are there to celebrate. And so you have an
Mhm.
obligation, right, to show up to your events and to do things. And I think the coronation is kind of like that. They had guests there that, were coming to see them, and it would have been great to have her make even just a short appearance. I would have liked to have seen that. So, you know, again, we don't really know why she missed, and it could totally have been a very valid reason, but I do think making that appearance would have been really, really important.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not for the surprise walkabout, but for the reception, it was
Mm.
kind of jarring to not see her there.
So let's go ahead and jump into Saturday because we had a lot going on. I mean, that was the big, big day. Before we
Right.
get into the events, I do want to share some listener comments that we had on Instagram. So I polled listeners and I asked, how are you celebrating the coronation? And we got quite a few responses. I'm going to just pick a couple here that stick out to me. Let's see. Vicky said, hopefully to see the ceremony on TV, providing I wake up on time. Jean said, I shall watch the BBC from 4 a.m., then attend a tea in Niagara Falls, Canada. That sounds like fun.
Mhm.
Let's see. Megan said champagne quiche and a lot of coffee. I hear you. It was
Out in
pretty.
Montecito, Megan writing into us. I'm just kidding. That's obviously not Meghan Markle, but I digress. Anyway.
We also had Karen said getting up at 4 a.m. in Chicago to have quiche, bacon, and a trifle while we watch. Karen, I wish I could have joined you because that sounds wonderful. Tracy in Birmingham, Alabama said celebrating Coronation Day with our version of Coronation quiche here in Birmingham. So we had a lot of good ones. Oh, and then I want to read Susan said getting up at 5 a.m. to watch the ceremony and eating scones in my PJs. All of this
I
just
love
sounds
that.
wonderful. And I love how everyone was enjoying it sort of together at the same time, right? In our own places around the world.
Yeah.
Um, we also asked, did you watch the coronation? So after the fact, to kind of get a feel for how many people actually tuned in. And 86% of people said they did. So pretty big numbers.
That's actually lower than I thought it would be. I thought it would
Really?
be closer to like in the high 90s. I don't know. I mean, if you're listening to our podcast and following us on Instagram, I would assume that this is probably something that's on your radar and that you want to watch. But
But
I had,
it was early. Like, our California
yeah,
people, I mean, that's a commitment.
I told you, don't go to sleep. Just go from Cinco de Mayo to all the way through to the coronation in the UK. But I had a call, so I was obviously working the event. I mean, God, I don't even know how many coronation stories we wrote, a million it feels like. But my call time was, I think, 3:15. What time did you end up waking up?
Oh, I told you I'm gonna get up right when I have to. I was
Mhm.
actually up sort of late the night before getting some stuff done, so I was pretty tired. But I woke up at
because it started at 5.
Yeah, it was a little before 5.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was like, oh, if I miss any intro, I may have to go back and rewatch it. But I was so tired Saturday morning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, I woke up at 3, like probably like 3:15ish, was like sluggishly. I'm so not a morning person. I've said that, but like I was, I mean, I had adrenaline. My mom stayed over the night before, so shout out to you, mom, for providing the coffee. And and it's difficult sometimes to report on these things while they're happening live, because you want to break the story, you want to break the news, but you also don't want to miss anything. So we had the TV on, we had the big screen on in my living room, and my mom would be watching for anything like, if Harry, who is Harry interacting with while I was writing. And it was good teamwork. So thank you, mom, for that.
That is very good teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's go ahead and do some fashion from the big event. We
Yes.
saw a lot of good fashion here that we need to talk about. So again, we said lots of shades of red, white, and blue leading up to the event and at the event itself. We'll start off with Camilla. So she was in a Bruce Oldfield gown. Tell us a little bit about that, Rachel.
Well, there was some detailing on the dress that was really cool. Like her dogs were on the dress, which you can't tell when you're looking at it from far away, but when you see the close-up shots. And by the way, I want to put this plug in here. The King and Queen's coronation outfits are actually going on display at Buckingham Palace from July 14th to September 24th. The Royal Collection Trust announced this week. So you can actually see everything. I don't know how up close and personal you're going to get. I mean, of course, it'll be behind glass, but the detailing on the dress is really beautiful. There were so many sentimental touches there. And, a lot of the outfits were actually mostly covered up by robes and such. But when you get to see the close-ups of the dresses, and that includes Kate's as well, which we'll talk about in a second. It's absolutely stunning. I don't know if you had any thoughts on the dress.
I didn't get a whole lot of, I feel like some of those dresses were that we saw our senior royals in. We didn't get as good of a view as I would have liked.
Mm-hmm.
So just from what I saw watching it, very, very beautiful. I did really like the detailing about the dogs.
Yeah,
It was
of
really
course you
sweet,
did. I mean,
really, really
that's
sweet.
well, and she did not wear blue, which we've been talking ad nauseum about blue, blue, blue. But I mean, it made sense because white is in Kate wore white as well, and that's a good segue into her. She wore an Alexander McQueen gown. She wore a floral headpiece by Jess Collette and Alexander McQueen. She had on Princess Diana's earrings, which of course I love whenever she does that. Just making Diana a part of all of this, can't help but think, of course, gosh, in another life, Diana would have been there. But I will say this, and I had this conversation with someone, that Charles married the right person the second time. I mean, he probably should have always married Camilla. That was always the love of his life. Diana is amazing. Obviously a huge, unabashed fan of hers, but to do this job, he needs the support that Camilla provides. But you can't also at the same time can't help but think, gosh, what if, I don't know, life had worked out differently and somehow this could be Diana here. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one that thought that. But Kate, so back to Kate, she was wearing Diana's earrings. She also originally had on a necklace of Queen Elizabeth's, but it was taken off at some point. It was on and then it was off. And I think it was kind of determined and decided that it was just a little bit too much with the I think it's the Royal Victorian Order. Again, we're not super well researched for this episode, listeners. Sorry, this is mostly just our opinions, but I think she was also wearing the Royal Victorian Order medal around her
Mhm.
neck, and so there was just a little bit too much going on there. So they took the Queen's necklace off, but I thought that it was a sentimental touch while it was there anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I could see how maybe they wanted to scale that back. But I do have to say, I thought Catherine was beautiful. I
Oh my gosh.
loved the
Yes.
headpiece. I loved I mean, gosh, everything that she had on just looked like royalty, right? It looked so
That
regal.
headpiece was amazing. And we had speculated in the lead up that she would be wearing a floral headpiece. And so I'm thinking like a flower crown. You know what I mean? Like the bridesmaids at her wedding wore. But this, I mean, this was a floral headpiece, I guess, but like it was stunning. It was just,
It was much more than
yeah,
just a floral
it
headpiece.
was amazing.
Well, you mentioned we had speculated about, what she might be wearing because we had heard she wouldn't be in a tiara. And we asked on Spotify, our listeners over there, if, they thought she would wear a floral headpiece or a traditional tiara at the coronation. So 85% of people thought she would end up going with a traditional tiara. Only 15% predicted the floral headpiece. So
I told you guys that she was going to be in a floral headpiece. I wrote about that. I told you on here. Maybe you guys will listen to me now. 85% of you didn't think I was right. Come on now.
and then of course,
Have a little trust in your co-host here.
of course, Princess Charlotte had that adorable smaller version.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it.
I mean, I her outfit was absolutely precious. I
Charlotte
mean,
looked like a
talk
little
about a little
angel.
princess.
Charlotte looked like an angel. She stole the whole show for me as far as fashion. She was divine, absolutely beautiful.
So, and I do think that what they chose for Catherine, because of the silver threading and beading in it, it really did, it had a little sparkle and it really could almost pass as a tiara from a distance.
Yeah.
I don't know, I thought it was beautiful and I thought they couldn't have picked a better choice for a headpiece for her.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
So then after the coronation, we asked on Instagram who liked the floral headpiece or who missed the tiara. So 77% of people said they loved it. Only 23% said they missed the traditional tiara, which I thought was really interesting feedback. The majority of people thought she would end up wearing a tiara, but then in the end, the majority of people really did like the floral headpiece. So I think we all agreed on that.
Yeah, and as we said, of course, Princess Charlotte was kind of her mom's mini me. She was also wearing a white Alexander McQueen dress and a matching replica headpiece. And I mean, just Charlotte is stunningly beautiful. She just turned 8 years old that week and just was epitomized class, absolute princess.
Absolutely, yes. So we also saw Sophie. She was in a white Susanna London gown. She had a white floral headpiece in. We saw Zara in a baby blue coat dress by Laura Green and matching fascinator with feather and like a ribbon embellishment at the
Zara
top.
looked beautiful. I
Yes,
mean,
she
like
did.
whatever her skincare regimen is, I want it. She looked stunning. Like
Zara really stood out
amazing.
to me at this event. I mean, we saw family and guests coming in, and when I saw her outfit, I was like, oh my gosh, I love that look.
Yeah, she was, I mean, and that color was great. And she, oh my gosh, Zara was one of the just absolute beauties at the ceremony for sure.
Then we saw Princess Beatrice. Now she was in this hot pink dress with puffy sleeves. It had like a matching kind of built-in belt, and she had on a metallic headband. What did you think about this outfit?
Let me scroll down to the picture here because hold on a second. Because I mean, obviously I remember it. I mean, she looked beautiful. She wasn't a standout for me that day. But I mean, it wasn't like I didn't dislike it, but I mean, Zara and then someone else that we're going to talk about in a second just like absolutely took my breath away.
So I'm going to agree with you on that. Again, loved Zara's dress. Princess Beatrice. Here's my overall thing. Well, we'll get into dress code later, but was not blown away by I thought the color looked great on Princess Beatrice. I mean, it looks good on her, but the dress itself and the outfit just wasn't as memorable for me as some of the others. And
Agree.
Princess Eugenie, so we saw her. She was in this navy silk dress. She had a matching sort of a long coat, matching shoes, and a navy hat. What did you think about that one?
Well, I mean, she looked beautiful. She's very, very pregnant right now. Her hair is also quite a bit darker than I'm normally used to seeing it. And so I honestly did not know it was her at first. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's Eugenie. Because she was walking in with, of course, Jack, her husband, and Harry. I mean, the York sisters, they again, nobody was like, oh my gosh, they like, what are they wearing? Like I'm thinking right now of Kate and William's wedding in 2011, the fascinators and like what's going on there. But this was not that. They looked fine. They just weren't standouts for me.
I agree. I felt sort of the same about Princess Eugenie. It was a pretty simple look. Felt like the hat was a little, I would have liked to have seen something a little bit different, maybe like some kind of fascinator or something there with her. But I thought, again, I liked that she stuck with the blue color, kind of going in theme. I did think it was a little bit different that Beatrice went with the hot pink, because we saw, Zara's in this shade of light blue. We've got Eugenie in the navy blue. We've got Sophie and Catherine in the white, and then Princess Beatrice is in hot pink.
Yeah.
So that was kind of different, and kind of stuck out to me.
Well, so my standouts that weren't, senior, like weren't Kate and Charlotte, were Zara, as I said, and Lady Louise. Oh my gosh. She took my breath away. Like looking at the photos come through on Getty, which is the photo service that we use, she is coming into her own. I even wrote a story about it. I think I called it like Lady Louise is the young royal to watch or something like that. Like she was wearing this white and blue Irish dress by Susanna London, who is the same designer that designed for Sophie, and a blue hat. And she is 19 years old, and she has just she's in college. She's at the University of St. Andrews. She's stunning. I mean, Louise took my breath away. And I don't know what you thought, and I definitely want to know what you think. But I mean, Zara and Louise for me were the non-senior royal like winners, if it's not a competition, but like they just absolutely were incredible for me.
Yes, I thought I loved that Lady Louise chose the same designer that Sophie was wearing. It was like a
Mhm.
mother-daughter moment, which I thought was really special. I agree. I thought she looked great. I mean, she's really like, I was like, it feels like when we started this podcast, she was still sort of a kid. And now all of a sudden, like
Mhm.
you said, she's 19 and she's going to these events, and she looked great. And I agree. I think my favorite outfit of the family that really just stuck out to me that day was Zara. I
Mhm.
loved the baby blue coat dress. I thought the fascinator was stunning. I think that's going to be my top look from our non-working family members. And honestly, really, I thought Catherine's dress was beautiful. Again, I thought Camilla's dress and Sophie's dress, but we really didn't see a whole lot of them. Like I said before, they were sort of covered. So, I mean, really, the one that really kind of stood out to me the most, I think, was Zara. I think she
Yeah.
wins.
Well, and so since you picked Zara, I'm going to pick Louise because the
Perfect.
dress was stunning, the hat was stunning, she was stunning, the photos were stunning. It's just like when when you watch, like I felt the same way. And this is not a political show, this is not a political comment, but like I felt the same way when I saw the photos of Sasha Obama graduating from USC, because we met Sasha Obama when she was what, like 7 or 8 years old, and now she's a fully grown woman of 22 or however old she is. And it's just like I feel the same way about Louise. We've watched Louise grow up her entire life, and now she's 19. She's fully coming into her own, and she is just breathtakingly beautiful. And it's just, it's kind of like when you go back to the family reunion and your cousin, who, you like the last time you saw your cousin was like, in adolescence or whatever, and now they've grown up, and it's like, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. And so my winner, or whatever we're calling it, is Louise for sure.
Well, let's talk about some of the other guests of the coronation. Rachel, we saw so many royal guests at this event, and I want to talk about some of our favorite looks from other royals in attendance. So, I will say there was a strong trend I noticed over the weekend of this event. If listeners are wanting to take some fashion inspiration from royals, let me just recommend going monochromatic with your
Mm.
look. So I put some pictures here in our notes for me and Rachel to look at as we chat. And one thing that you can see is there are so many monochromatic
And I
outfits,
love it. I'm such a monochromatic
dresses.
person. I'm not a patterns person.
Totally. Me dresses, hats, shoes, clutches, they're all, you know, like a solid color, and they're all the
Love
same
it.
hue family. So I do feel like this is a pricey trend, though. I mean, it definitely says royal, because honestly, most of us really don't budget to have a different color pair of shoes to perfectly match all the dresses in our closets.
Mhm.
So it is a pricey trend. But we got some great photos from the day. So I want to kind of go through these and talk about some that stuck out to us and who we really liked. I'll jump in first. The Queen of Spain, Letizia, and she was in this what'd you call it, Rachel? Is that a bubblegum pink or what color pink is that?
I wouldn't call it bubblegum pink. It's like, I don't know. I mean, it's pink, but I don't know. It's pink. And yeah, I mean, she looks beautiful. I'm not really a fan of the peplum on this, but or really the neck detailing, but I do like the color.
Yeah, so she's got this not really a pencil skirt, but kind of a straight skirt that goes above her ankles for sure, maybe a little longer than midi length. And then it looks like maybe it's a two piece. So the top is a
Yeah.
round neck. It's got some embroidery around the neckline. The top matches the skirt. Like you said, this kind of ruffle peplum waistline and pink shoes, of course, to match. I liked it. I thought this was
Yeah.
a fun look. I don't mind the peplum. I thought she looked great.
Yes, I agree. And then moving on to Crown Princess Mary of Denmark. Love the gloves on her and Met I'm we never talk about Norway. We don't talk about Norway much. Mette-Marit, sorry, I'm probably butchering that. Again, we're not as well researched as we normally are, but I love the gloves for both of them. That just adds an immediate level of class to any outfit to me. Crown Princess Mary's look. I'm trying to figure out kind of what's going on at the waist here, like with the kind of like draping or whatever.
So
But
I think it's like a wrap dress, and
yeah,
then where it wraps around, it's almost like the tie is hanging down,
yeah.
like
I mean,
down.
I have no problem with the wrap dress, but like I don't know, the tie. Anyway, nobody asked me, but the tie is a little bit awkward, at least in this photo. But the color is beautiful. Again, it's a purple color right down to
Like
the
a deep
shoes.
purple.
Yeah, deep purple. Love the hat. Not sure what that brooch is, but I'm sure it has significance. Love the gloves. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, a good call out. I really like that both Mary and Mette-Marit went all the way with the monochromatic down to the gloves. So we've got, let's see, so both, okay, Mette-Marit, I hope I'm saying her name correctly. She's in a very like a nude blushy color.
And I
I really
love
love this
this.
too.
This might be my winner actually.
I love this look too. And that's why I had to include it in here, even though we don't talk about this royal family a whole lot on the show. With her blonde hair and her kind of pinky skin tone, it just
Mhm.
blended so well. And she's got this really pretty bow on the shoulder. And I love that
Yeah.
thick, structured fabric. Listeners, if you didn't see it, go look this outfit up. I mean, honestly, it's pretty simple, right? It's not very flashy. She didn't wear a hat or anything, but it just looks great. I love it.
Yeah, she looks beautiful. And the gloves. Again, like I mean, just it just does it for me. I think this might be my favorite of the five that we're looking at here.
So then we saw Princess Charlene of Monaco, also that we talk a lot about on the show. And she also went with this sort of, I don't know, it's like a creamy, nudie blush sort of color. And it looks like
Mhm.
it's a two piece with a skirt and like a top jacket. So there are buttons going down, looks like over the left side, the shoulder and chest
Mhm.
area. And then it sort of wraps over on the right shoulder and kind of, she's got this like long draping piece hanging
Looks
down
like
her
the
back.
buttons go down the skirt as well. You see that?
Yes, they do. They continue onto the skirt, so it all kind of
Mhm.
matches. She's got a matching fascinator, matching shoes. Um, her skin also pretty fair, so it kind of sort of all blends with the color of the dress. But this wasn't my favorite look.
No, I don't like this look very much. I don't like the draping in the back.
I kind of think it washes her out a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the draping in the back, I wasn't a big fan of. And then the skirt it's sort of like a midi length, mid calf length. It's got a
Don't
little
like that little
slit.
slit above the knee. It just doesn't look like it shouldn't have had a slit. Just make it like Letitia's and make it like, more A-line or pencil or whatever.
I agree. And I'm going to jump in here and say, I was going to say this earlier. I'm going to say it now. So we talked also before the coronation about how there may be a less formal dress code at this event, instead of ball gowns,
Yeah, nobody's
like
wearing tiaras. Like we should note that. Like
it's
not a
sort of
one of
like
them.
it's wedding day attire.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your thoughts about that were. I thought everyone looked really great, but honestly, I was a little bummed. I wanted to
Yeah.
see the big glitz and glam of the day. And, because these outfits are beautiful, but it's not uncommon to see royals dress like this at other events. And a coronation
Mhm.
is such a rare occasion. I really did want to see everybody kind of decked out for the big event.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. This is more of a royal wedding look. And, I mean, we only see royals around the world like come to the UK so often, like for state visits and stuff. But I mean, yeah, this is, and there's no tiaras. There's, it's just something that like you would wear to a wedding, like as you said. I also miss kind of the pomp and ceremony and the over the top glitz and glamour. But I mean, look, these ladies did they understood the assignment. They did what they were asked to do and kept it obviously incredibly classy, but within bounds.
So we also saw Crown Princess Victoria of Sweden. She was in this sort of royal blue color dress, sort of the same color of dress that Kate wore at the reception at Buckingham Palace
I
the
was
night
going to
before.
say she got the memo about she obviously listens to podcast royal and knew that blue was the color of the moment. I love the fact on this. I like this look a lot actually. This is out of all of these looks, this dress that Victoria has on is the one that I would personally wear. That doesn't mean it's my favorite, but and it's up there. But I would wear this dress. Gorgeous blue color, slightly off color, but still in the color family. Shoes, I love it when royals do that. She's got a hat on. I love the cut of the dress and the waist detailing. I like it.
So I also want to mention a couple other standouts for me. Rachel, did you see Pippa?
Yes, and Pippa was wearing the color of Pippa's dress is yellow, and it reminds me very much of the dress. In fact, I might have to go back and look at this. It looks the color anyway is like identical to the Amelia Wickstead dress, yellow dress that Kate wore to the Platinum Jubilee service of Thanksgiving. I doubt it's the same dress, but I'm only thinking that because Kate yesterday at the flower show wore that dress she wore to meet Mila. And then
Yes.
Carol, her mom had worn that dress. So, I'm thinking about the Middleton women exchanging dresses, but it's a gorgeous color. Pippa looks great.
I loved this look. Now, I will say baby yellow, I don't think would be flattering on me, but it looked
Same.
great on Pippa. I love the cut of the dress. It's sort of like the top reminds me of a blazer almost with the collar and it, has buttons around like the midsection. And then of course you've got this flowy skirt that goes down a little above her ankles. And she didn't go with yellow shoes. She's got a yellow hat. She's got nude shoes.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a really stunning look. Also want to talk about Penny Mordaunt.
God bless this woman for holding that sword for 900 years.
She really stood out at the coronation because, I think everybody was like, wow, who is this lady, front and center, going through this ceremony. But I loved her outfit as well. I mean, the color was beautiful. It was sort of like I don't really know how you would describe it. It's not royal blue, but it's like a darker blue.
It's like
And
almost a navy.
yeah, almost a navy. And it kind of looks like it had a little greenish tint in some of the pictures that I saw. So I don't know if that was lighting or what. But then it's got this like almost like a brownish goldish leaf detailing around the shoulder. She's got a cape and this hat that kind of wraps perfectly around her head. And I thought her look was really great too. What did you think?
Yeah, and she looks beautiful, and God loved this woman. I think I read that she like had to take painkillers for like because she's holding this sword for like what, an hour and a half or something crazy like that. I mean, and I love the cape. I really love the cape. And sorry, just the way we've arranged this has Zara like two over from her, and it's just impossible to like notice anybody but Zara when you put everybody. I thought she just looked so beautiful.
Okay, my standouts really for the day, just recapping again, Mette-Marit from Norway, I thought looked great. Zara, great. Pippa looks great. I think those are my top three for the day.
Yeah, I would throw obviously Louise in there. I would put yeah, I think I would agree with you on that. And then we've got a picture of Katy Perry here.
So I included
God
this
love
because
Katy Perry.
people were talking about her outfit. So she's in this sort of lavender or lilac colored dress. And I don't know if you had thoughts about it, Rachel, but it was not my favorite. I was not a fan of this outfit.
No, it just, I mean, I don't know how to say this. Like, I mean, she's a beautiful woman, but like, it just looks like too prescriptive for like a royal event. You know what I mean? Like,
Doesn't it sort of look like almost like dress up for like a tea
Yes,
party or
yes. It's
something.
like let's play dress up for a coronation, not like I don't know. And these,
Which, I will say, Katie is an entertainer. So,
yeah.
maybe that, she likes to dress up. I mean, she does that for a living. So,
All I
that's
can
her
picture is
personality.
is her wobbling and almost falling down on, I don't even remember where she was, but she, yeah, and these gloves actually don't do it for me. Like as opposed to Mary, Crown Princess Mary and Mette-Marit, their gloves. These gloves don't do it for me at all. Kind of like Kate's gloves didn't do it for me at the BAFTAs. They're like maybe I just don't like long gloves. Maybe I'm just a hater. I don't know. But I mean, I again, yeah, it just looks a little bit too costumey for me, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that one stood out to me as one that was not a favorite. And again, Princess Charlene's outfit was not a favorite of mine. So that's kind of where I landed for the day.
Yes. Well, so let's jump into some other coronation details, including Sunday and Monday. So we saw Prince George as a page of honor. You know what? George on the balcony for me was more confident than I've ever seen him. He really looks like I mean, he'll be 10 years old in July. He looks like he's also coming into his own as well. Thought he did a great job. And then, my God, Prince Louis, just like the love of my life here, yawning. Having to be taken away by a nanny partway through the ceremony. I actually thought he made it through way more of the ceremony than I thought he would, and he was away for a minute and then he came back for God Save the King at the end, just on the balcony. My God, like Louis, please never lose that spirit. Like the world will try to take that spirit from you. Do not let them. Just love this child. Prince Harry interacting with Beatrice and Edo, Eugenie and Jack, Zara as well, and Princess Anne as well. Just love to see him. I mean, he looked happy, and that's obviously, we love to see that. Some things have happened since the coronation, but we got into that on episode 94. But he left right after the ceremony, and he actually skipped a reception at the palace right after the ceremony at Buckingham Palace. Archie actually did get his toast. Do you remember when we shared Harry and
Yes.
Meghan's demands or whatever they were? And they wanted because Archie's fourth birthday was that same day. They wanted him to be recognized or toasted at something, and he was. And Charles, the way that the king said it was super weird. He like gave a toast to Archie wherever you are. It's like, dude, you know exactly where he is. He's in Montecito, and but whatever. And so, and Harry made it home to California by 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, which like is the longest day of his life probably. And but he made it home to tuck the kids in bed and say happy birthday to Archie in person. So he accomplished all of his goals. So it's a good son, a good father. He also wore a morning suit by Dior. I've heard rumors, I can't remember if we've talked about this on the show, that Harry is going to be, I don't know if it's like a spokesperson or something like that for Dior. So I thought it was super interesting because, he didn't get to wear his uniform, and he said he was okay with wearing a morning suit. Well, now I get it, right? Because he like got to plug his brand or whatever. And,
Sure.
Meghan also has worn Dior. She's worn Dior many times, but wore Dior at the aforementioned service of Thanksgiving at the Platinum Jubilee. There's some kind of business partnership happening between Harry and Dior, and so it wasn't incredibly surprising that he wore Dior to the coronation. Also, Anne's feather headpiece, which actually blocked Harry most of the time. She was sitting right in front of him, and I don't think that was intentional. But anyway, and she was in uniform. So yeah, you've got a couple more notes on fashion,
Yeah,
or kind
so
of fashion, if you want to call it that.
sort of, yeah. We saw Prince Andrew in robes. He also posed for a coronation portrait. Now that one was not released publicly. The one that was released publicly, he was not a part of. I guess he wanted to be in some of the pictures that the family kept, though. But I know there were some things going around online. People weren't sure how they felt about him in his robes. So, but I did want to call that out. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't sit well. It didn't feel good. But there he was, the king's brother. So what can you do?
And then this really, I saw this and I loved it. I shared it on our Instagram. So James Middleton shared a little memory of his dog, Ella, who has passed away on Coronation Day. He had this little thing in his hand, and I couldn't really tell for sure what it was. I tried to look online, and there were different reports. Some people said it was some kind of a token that he keeps. Some people said it could have been a cufflink, but it was a little gold square, and it had a picture of his dog. And I thought it was so sweet. And he mentioned that, she would be with him for the big day. And, of course, it just melted me. I thought it was a great way to keep her memory with him. So I loved that. I hope listeners saw it, especially our dog lovers out there. And then, the ceremony, we said we're not going to get into details of that because everyone pretty much has probably seen it or has heard a lot about it at this point. But of course it was, it's history. And if you got to watch it, you were part of that big event. There were a lot of memorable moments throughout the day at the ceremony.
And then, of course, the balcony moment. And I was sad that the weather wasn't cooperating and that I love the fly pass. Like I love them. They give me such chills. And they had a truncated one, but I was sad that we didn't get the full out version because it was rainy and gross. But obviously safety is paramount. But just seeing everybody up there, it's just so different without Her Late Majesty. But I just the Buckingham Palace balcony moments are iconic, and I wrote an entire story that we'll have to send you listeners to about the lip reading from the day. We're gonna talk about this briefly in a second, but the things they were saying up there on the balcony. I mean, allegedly, who so says the lip readers, but it's funny. They lost. They were like, "Where's George?" They lost George at a point, and then Sophie was like, "Where did George go?" And then they forgot that. How could they forget that he was a page of honor and he wasn't with them? And so and Charles allegedly said something about it being really wobbly up there, and how he almost got too close to the edge and was kind of getting freaked out. And just read the article; it's really funny.
So let's talk a little bit about we had the big lunch and concert on Sunday. We had the big help out on Monday. We had a garden party on Tuesday. There were lots of stuff going on after Saturday's event. So tell us a little bit about first the concert, Rachel. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so Andrea Bocelli performed, and he performed the song "You'll Never Walk Alone," which is just absolutely beautiful. Read the lyrics, if nothing else. And actually, the King and Queen specifically requested that song, and so he delivered on that. Katy Perry performed 2 songs. Lionel Richie performed 2 songs, and a lot of people were laughing because both of the songs that he performed were, you could classify those as a little bit sexual, all night long and easy like Sunday morning. And so just a little bit uncomfortable, but great. It was a great show. The King and Queen actually made a surprise appearance on American Idol, which of course Katy Perry and Lionel Richie are hosts of that.
I saw that appearance. It was kind of funny. It was a little awkward, I thought.
It was. And we obviously are Americans that care about the royal family, but a lot of the American public could care less about the royal family. So, but anyway, they were on American Idol, and maybe that was like an exchange, hey, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. I'm coming and singing in your coronation concert, make an appearance on my show. So they did. God bless Charlotte. This is neither here nor there, but God love her. She tripped and fell as she was curtsying to the king. She recovered. She's fine. She's tough. I think she's probably one of the toughest one of them all. At the concert, we saw William, Kate, George, and Charlotte. No Louis. It was probably past his bedtime, honestly. William gave a beautiful heartfelt speech, which I actually watched back again this afternoon to remind myself of what he said. And you know what, Peter Phillips, dang it, you told me that you were going to take me to the coronation concert, but you know what, you brought your girlfriend Lindsay Wallace instead.
Taken, Rachel.
Whatever, Peter. I thought we were closer than that. But anyway, apparently they're, good for them. I'm happy for Peter, but I'm kind of still a little bit in love with Peter Phillips. And I want Zara to be my sister-in-law. So, but that's never going to happen. Meanwhile, Meghan was seen out on a hike in California wearing more jewelry than I have ever seen anybody in my life wear on a hike. She was actually wearing a lot of jewelry, but one of the pieces was Diana's Cartier watch. And then on Monday, it was the big help out. So it actually marked another first for Louis. So Louis has been having tons of firsts this year. He had his first royal Christmas, his first royal Easter, and this marked Louis's first official royal engagement. They went, I see, we're not as well prepared as we normally are. It was like a scouting thing. Like they were
Yeah.
doing all kinds of stuff. They were painting, they were on like a not a forklift, but like, what do you call that? I don't even know. Like William was driving all the kids around on it. They're like his kids, not all the kids, but they
They
made
had bow
s'mores.
and arrows. They were doing like
Yeah, shooting bow and arrows. Yeah. Then they were roasting s'mores, and we learned one of Kate's nicknames for Louis. She calls him Lou Bug, which is so cute. And I
that is
mean, God,
cute.
just like again, Louis, like just could look at like it's so fun because like when you work for a magazine, you get to like go through all the photos and as they come and just watching all the photos come through of Louis, like shooting his little bow and arrow with his little serious face. He's just the best. I love this child.
So then we had the big coronation group portrait that was released on Monday. That was really exciting. Really great to see the family together like that. I was waiting for those photos to come out after the event. I really
Mm-hmm.
wanted to see them. We also saw William and Catherine host a garden party on Tuesday, like we mentioned. And I'm sure listeners, if you saw photos, you noticed Catherine and Sophie were almost twinning at this garden party. It
Lots of
was
floral themes.
yeah, so they swapped out the royal blues for lighter shades. We saw Catherine in a rewear of I don't know how you say this designer's name. Is it Ely Saab?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then we saw Sophie in blue Susanna London dress. It had this sort of like big collar in the front. That was also a rewear. So she's in a Susanna London era right now, I guess.
And Louise as well.
Yeah. So that was a really fun event. We had some great pictures come out of that. And one thing that I absolutely loved, I hope listeners saw this, William met Dame Elizabeth Watts. So she's 93 years old. And she was at the garden party and she told him that she attended the coronations of the Queen Mother, Queen Elizabeth II, and King Charles. So
That's
we
so cool.
had 3 coronations that she's attended, and then she got to go and meet Prince William. I mean, that is incredible.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Also, we had the portrait release of the heirs. We had King Charles, Prince William, and of course, Prince George. So that was another really great photo. I was excited to see. I know you saw that one too. And I think a lot of people were waiting for that.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. A lot of dudes. I don't know. I need to have a queen up in here. George, please take care of that. So a lot
We're
of
trying
guys.
to, they said, well, we've had 70 years of a queen, so we'll have
We're
some
gonna
kings.
we're gonna get that and probably some more with these three, but monarchy's in good hands.
So let's wrap up with a What the Royal. This segment, listeners, if you haven't gone back and listened to older episodes, we do this on occasion. It's not something we do every episode, but every time something happens that we think is kind of goofy or funny or maybe leaves us sort of scratching our heads like, what in the world? We call it What the Royal, and we talk about it on the show. So this time we're going to talk about what Rachel mentioned earlier. King Charles in the coach looking sort of annoyed, when they got there and they're waiting. So we had, I think, Prince William and family were running a few minutes late and he looks kind of just like sort of ticked off. And lip readers have said that he was saying, we can never be on time. This is a negative. This is boring.
Yeah, well, and that was kind of a screw up. And like I even noticed it as it was happening because I was like, there's no way that the king and queen should be waiting at that rear entrance for that long. Like that this is something has gone wrong because and it had the Wales family was late. And just I wrote about that in the same lip reading article and yes he said allegedly said something to the effect of we can't ever get it together or something like that. You can't ever be on time.
Which, how relatable is that?
I know. And I mean, my mom and I, because like we were noticing it as it was happening, because it was like there's no reason for them to be in the coach that long. And my mom said the queen would have the Queen Elizabeth. I mean, not Queen Camilla. But we got to start differentiating. But Queen Elizabeth never would have sat there that long. Like it just never would have stood for that. So yeah, he said something to the effect of we can't ever be on time. And it's like, you know what? That's very, as you said, that's very relatable.
I thought that was funny. I mean, I'm sure he was already, and Camilla both were probably already a basket of nerves. So
Right.
waiting probably made it a little bit worse. But
Mhm.
you can't really blame the Waleses. I mean, goodness gracious, three young kids trying to get everything together and get there. I mean, something's bound to happen.
If there
So
was ever one time to be on time, though, it was probably then, but that's okay. Everything else seemed to go off pretty much without a hitch.
well, overall, I thought the week was really a huge success. I
Yeah.
enjoyed the pre-coronation sightings that we got to see. I enjoyed the event itself, and the post-coronation engagements that they had were just a lot of fun. It was, I thought, a weekend where everyone was in great spirits and really excited for King Charles. And Rachel, I've had fun talking about it. The fashion was a great conversation too. We hadn't talked about
Mhm.
that until now. So we saved
Yeah,
it for
we've
the
been so
pod.
busy. Yeah, we've been so busy, you and I both, that we haven't had the chance to like catch up about this. So this really was the first time that we discussed the coronation since it happened. So, so fun. Hope it's another 20 years before we get another one. Already hearing that Williams is going to be drastically different from Charles's, but let's soak in this moment and we lived a little bit of history together.
Anything else before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. It was, I mean, our first coronation. We did it.
All right, well, listeners, once again, don't forget to follow us on Instagram. If you enjoyed the polls that we shared today and some of the feedback, we try to do that. So hop over there if you're not already. Follow us at Podcast Royal and join in on those conversations. If you have questions or want to start a combo or have us talk about something on the podcast, you can send us an email at hellopodcastroyal@gmail.com. And of course, please be sure to go subscribe, rate, review our podcast. We really appreciate all the kind thoughts, all the nice reviews. And thank you so much for tuning into episode 95 of Podcast Royal. Bye.
Bye.